owner of HogOn Welding and the founder of Welding and Hip Hop. I wanted to come to you today with a small video this morning, just talking about how to buy your flux core spool of wire. I had a few people ask me the difference on buying the big one, the small one, which kind to get versus the gas. So honestly, in my personal opinion, I will always get the 10-pound spool if I have the money for it, because buying the 10-pound spool is going to save you a lot of money in the long run. And on this spool, it runs, normally it's going to run you about $75 plus tax. But if you shop at certain wholesale spots, you can find a little better deals. I found this one for $55, and it's the same wire that I was spending the 75 plus tax on. So it's better to get the bigger spool of wire because you can be able to knock out multiple projects, because the small spool normally they run about $15, $12 or $15, but you can't, they don't last that long. So if you got a small thing, that's cool. But if you're going to be doing some work, like really, you're going to be doing some small metal fabrication, especially things that's 3/16 and under. I like to say 3/16 and under because on a normal average, that's what we use. Most people use 3/16 and under. Most of the time is about between 11 and 16 gauge on your thickness. But having a spool of wire can save you a lot of time. And on this one, I just want to zone it in for you so hopefully you can see that this is 035.035 wire. And I use 035 because it gives a little bit better penetration, for the thickness. If you go with a smaller wire, it's just for, to me personally, it's for something that's not as thick. You know, like if you know you're gonna be using something that's not real thick all the time, and you don't have to have a whole lot, then go with that. But if you're gonna need something that's gonna be at least structurally sound, I would say go with the 035. It's just the wire will last longer. It's just a better, to me personally, it's better, and you get a little bit more depth on your penetration on what you can do with it. Actually, see with this one, here's this chart here. I'm gonna show it to you. So you got your flux core, you got your MIG, and this just shows the three welding processes that you got here. So as you see, you got the 0.25, the 0.03.30, and then you got the 0.035. That's what I'm using. And if you see the deals here, you see the thicknesses that these can go. So say if you're using the 30, the thickest you can burn on the highest setting is going to be about 14 gauge. And if you're using, say, the CO2 or C25, the thickest you can run is about 14. But check out how it changes when you go to 035. The thickest you can run is 1/4 inch with this one. So you see the difference on using flux core, because you see all of this is off. That means when you got the gas and you're using a small wire, you're not going to get that type of penetration. But if you step back and you use a thicker wire and you use flux core instead of gas, you can get better penetration. So that's another reason why I use core, why I like the bigger wire, and why I fabricate with it, because you get more penetration, as you see. Like, it's a no-brainer. And the welds can look nice. Some people say, oh, the welds don't look like this. Honestly, I think a good flux core weld looks like a good stick weld. If you can stick weld good, or you know how to present a good 70, because it kind of looks like a 60-10, weld to me with the flux core versus, it being all shiny or something with gas on it. But it's still the same. It's still sufficient. You still can be able to do everything you need to do. So I just want to kind of step back and give you a view of this uh, gauge here to kind of show you how you gauge the difference on the metals, because that's a big thing to know. And when you fabricating, sometimes you can, some machines, they got a soft spot. You can kind of be in between on certain settings. But on a rule of thumb, your manual here is great. Lincoln lined it out for you, makes it a no-brainer to work on your machine and to flip it over, because when you do flux core, you got to switch it over. See, when you on regular MIG, you got your positive, your negative. But when you on this one, you got to switch it. See how it's ran direct. So it gives it, I think, a better well, and gives it more power to make more heat. So I think it's very beneficial to buy the bigger spool of wire. You're gonna save in the long run. Like I can't lie, I did a job one time. I spent the 70 some dollars on the spool, and I scored for a job to do some fabrication on some, I believe it was 11 gauge metal, and I made 3 grand in like, it was 3 grand in less than 2 weeks, honestly. And it was a good deal. Helped me out. Killed several birds with one stone with it. And once I got done with doing that job for those 3 weeks, no lie, I still had wire. Like I was still able to do that job and then come do this because the pieces that I was welding was like every 8 foot, I believe. And it was just like, I think it was an inch and a half. So I'm doing an inch and a half well every 8 foot. So it lasted for a long time. So all I wanted to say was, when you are buying your wire, shop around. Online, you can get a better deal. So if you don't mind shopping online, if you don't need it immediately, I would shop online. But on a wide range, I would say just you can go to Lowe's, Home Depot. Majority of them, I have the Lincoln Wire. So, and like I say, it's affordable. But if you look around other spots, you can find it a lot cheaper. Like I say, I went to a steel spot that actually sold wholesale welders. They sold, you name it, they pretty much had it in there. And I wanted to make something that would actually, I wanted to pick up something from them that could actually help me, make a few things. And I seen the wire in there, picking up something else, and I'm like, damn. I had to literally look at the wire again to make sure it was the price that they said on the box. I'm like, is this right? And they're like, yeah, we wholesale a lot of it. So I found a cooler wholesale spot for wire. I found the wholesale spot for metal, and believe it or not, this spot that I found was in Arkansas, but it's not too far from where I'm at in Oklahoma City. So goes back to what I say about pricing and knowing how to get your material. Sometimes you have to go outside of the area just to get the best price, just to get the best bang for your buck. You know what I mean? So don't get caught up in wanting to be in a box when it comes to networking and building your business. Sometimes you got to go a little bit outside of the normal area to get the things you need. And I literally drove, I had a project to do, plus I was visiting my family. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone, and I found a good company. So when it comes to your wire, I honestly believe it's very important to get the big spool. When you do have a small welder like this, sometimes they don't come, especially the older ones, they don't come with the bigger thing, but you can get it off of Amazon because this one didn't come. It had the small spool deal in it. It didn't have the big one, so I ordered it. Didn't cost a lot. This little thing right here is very cheap. It comes with a little lock nut right there to kind of lock it in. Very simple. But I think that is a great investment to get this machine. I would say, like I say, those who want to start out, I know you can go all out and get something new, but if you can find you a good used Lincoln machine like this is a 135 actually, and I would say I wouldn't go under the 135 and 140 is similar. So I wouldn't, if you're gonna do some fabrication, at least get you a 140. 140, you can kill a few birds with one stone, but that 125, man, it don't perform as good as I would like it to. So I would say get the 140 over the 125 to me. Spend that extra little money. But Hobart got one. So for those who looking for a good, affordable buzz box unit to do flux core and steel, and I think some of the ones they got do aluminum too. So you can kill several birds with one stone. But Hobart got one. So check out the Hobart brand. Like I say, it can save you some money, but when it comes to getting your wire, I think it's wise to get the big spool. It'll save you time, it'll save you money, it'll save you trips. So all around, you're gonna be like, man, that lasts me a long time. I was able to utilize it. So think about that when you're building your brand, when you're doing what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're killing a few birds with one stone. You want to keep that in mind because being a small business, our funds are limited. What we're doing is limited, and we don't want to just have all our money tied up in one project, one situation. So I would say it's wise to think outside the box and to network yourself in that direction. And to, like I say, when it comes to buying your wire, I would buy the big spool, the 10-pound spool. Hold on.